Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Alright, so this song is called Lost in the Void, and it's by Punch Deck. I was just about to give up on making this video and come back later, and I just found this song, and this song fits it perfectly, especially the name is Lost in the Void. I just did a meditation, so I think it was called The Power of Meditation or something like that a few days ago, maybe a week ago, and I talk about the void where God creates, where you create. Alright, so this video is going to be an amalgamation of different things that I've learned over the last 3.5 decades. Alright, so first I want to start out this way. Okay, so there is a shift that is happening on the planet, okay? And I believe when it actually happens, I believe the people who have been holding on to the old way of thinking, which is dividing, separating concepts, separating people, separating ideas, and saying we're right, you're wrong, either or, left or right. I think those people are going to have a complete and total collapse. They're going to have a mental, nervous breakdown that I don't think they're ever going to recover from. It's possible that they would literally just die. Now, I don't mean it's just going to happen one day, black or white. No, it's been happening for decades now, okay? Definitely since 2012. Actually, I shifted in 1996, okay? But it's not like one shift. It's a shift. It's a letting go of this belief, a letting go of this way, a letting go of that. And it's painful. Each step is very painful because you're essentially letting go of your identity of who you truly believe you are. But that's not who you are. Beliefs are not who you are. Your ways of being, your strategies to get through life, those are not who you are. Those are just tools to get along. And even your rules, okay? Rules are just ways to organize things, okay? That doesn't mean they're completely right. It just means like, hey, this is what we've agreed upon in this moment in time. Now, it could be just a family rule. It could be a church rule. It could be a business rule, or even a country or cultural rule. So what I'm talking about is the left brain and the only left brain way of thinking, okay? It's rules, structure. Now the left brain processes through rules, structure, and organization, okay? So we are shifting into a time where we are opening up more and more to the right brain. Again, I don't think it's going to be either left or right. I think it's going to be like a doorway is finally going to be open to the right brain. Now some of us, I would say a lot of you on this channel are already there, or are there to a certain level of strength and development that other people are not. So whether you're conscious of it or not, or realize this has been happening with you, on some level, even if it was a slow level, you have been healing different energies, meaning different charges or different parts that broke off many years ago. And they've slowly been coming back home into the core you and integrating with your essential energy. In other words, becoming one with the whole. So instead of 2 separate, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100 separate parts, they're all becoming one whole and complete, okay? And that's where you start to become more powerful. You literally become, your core energy becomes more bigger, more powerful, more grounded. It's because there's more of you. And not only that, but instead of being divided, you are now becoming one. And the more you do that, the more powerful you become. Alright, I've got it. I know how to explain one section of this video right now. So here's how integration works, and healing works. Is you have different parts. So we will have 2 different opposite opposing beliefs. So, and that's because you got one part of you. Now, each part takes on its own personality, its own rules, structure, and value, and beliefs, okay? So its own rules, values, beliefs, its own strategies, etc., okay? But then you have another. Now this is how it works. When you split off, there also has to become the complete opposite of that. So now there's another part that has completely different rules or a completely different belief, etc. So you get pulled in two different directions. Well, a part of me believes this, but another part of me believes that. Now, yeah. Now you've actually said this. Well, a part of me wants to do that, but another part of me wants to do the complete opposite. And this is what pulls you in two different directions, and you literally feel like you're being pulled apart. So these are actual different parts of you, and they have many personas. So we call this parts conflict or belief conflict, where you have two separate beliefs that are in complete conflict, right, about the same subject. Or you have two different parts that are conflicted on, well, I don't know, left or right, or this or that. Like, what do I want to do? Now, let's go back to the book of Genesis super quick. The Adam and Eve and the serpent and the trickery that the serpent did to Adam and Eve. So what he did was he tricked them to get stuck into the left brain. Now, the left brain's way of thinking is either or. And either or is what creates parts. And how it does that is by division. The left brain way of thinking is either or. And this, it's either A or it's B. You can't have both. Whereas the right brain, it's all about options and possibilities. And the phrase is and both plus and more. So it's this and that and more. So you can have 1 and 2, you can have 3 and 4, and you can have 5. Whereas the left brain goes, no, it's either A or it's B. You can either have one or the other. Now, that is not real in reality, not even in our reality. Like, the whole idea of either or is a complete man-made, made up. It's made up, and it was made up to cause division between everything. It causes separation. It causes separation between differences in color, in skin color, in religions, in cultures, in countries, in races, in careers, in job, in everything. Like, everything is separate. See, it causes you to believe, well, you can't. Okay, I remember a friend in high school. I had so on Fridays and on the game day, we were required as football players to wear our game jersey, right, on campus during school. And I was talking to my friends over in the smoking section, so they were called the smokers or the stoners. And then I went and talked to the Asian kids, which are on the other side. And then I came in and talked to the New Wave kids. They were called New Wavers, like Duran, those people. And then I went and walked over to the football guys. And as I got almost really close, EJ, a friend of mine, goes, "Mike, you can't do that." I go, "I can't do what?" He goes, "You can't talk to everyone." I go, "Well, why not?" He goes, "It's either them or it's us. You got to pick." And I was like, "You do realize you said that out loud, right?" He goes, "I don't care. That's the truth." All right, so the left brain, again, processes through rules, structure, and organization. What is that? That is religion. Religion is a left brain process because it's all about rules and structure. It organizes everything, literally. But the trick that the serpent did was to get mankind to be stuck in the left brain, and that is the ultimate sin. Sin literally means to either close off from or to be closed off from. So what happens is, when you go into your left brain and you go in that direction, you completely close off from the open brain, the right brain. So the door isn't open to the right brain. So there's no information flowing from left to right, left to right. The right brain, again, is the emotional, creative, spiritual brain. It's the open doorway to God. So here's the shift. So the old way was to be closed off from people in different cultures who have to be closed off from different religions. No, it's either or. Either I'm right or they're right. We can't both be right. It's either or, right or wrong. So my religion is right and your religion is wrong. Not only is your religion wrong, you're going to hell. Because that's not my religion. All it is people with closed minds. Now the left brain, guess what? It's literally the in-the-box brain. So when people say, hey, think outside of the box, What most people mean when they say that, they don't actually understand what that means. I'm going to tell you the false meaning. The false meaning is they say, hey, get out of your box and come into my box and think the way I think. That is not getting out. That is not thinking outside of the box. Opening up to the right brain. Now imagine it being a wall between two rooms, and you cut a big, wide walkway to where now you can walk into the other room and still be open to the other brain. This is called being open-minded, where now all of your systems are functioning together and are on at the same time, and they are integrated as a whole, complete oneness. And this is literally atonement, or to be atoned, at one. A-T-O-N-E, atone. At plus one equals atone, which means at one. Now, for the people that have had that door closed, and this is what I'm talking about, these are the ones that are going to be shattered. They're going to have a huge it is going to be an awakening, but it's going to be overwhelming, okay? For the people who are like, no, it's black or white, it's either or, my religion's right, and we're going to heaven, and you're going to... Those people are going to have a rude awakening. Now, here's the deal. Jesus was not a religious person. He was a spiritual person. Like he said to the lady who was gathering water, and she was like, well, how do I know, blah, 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 and she asked all this question, and he said, it's not going to be about, like, what mountain are you allowed to pray at, or what synagogue. He goes, you're going to be able to pray to God from your heart. And then he said, spirit and truth. And he said to the centurion, when the centurion said, well, like, what do I do to get into the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus said, see, this translation is it's completely backwards translation. People think it means to give away your goods. No, it means to let go of them emotionally, in the sense of being worried about them. What if someone steals it and I'm on vacation? What happens if I wreck my car? No, it's like, look, you're supposed to enjoy it. So let go of the worry. That's what it means to let go of your earthly goods, okay? But what he said next was, so the centurion said, well, I've done all that. And Jesus says, love. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and love each other with all your heart and all your soul, etc. And he says love is the fulfillment of the commandments. It's not about rules. Rules were never meant to be made up in the sense of right or wrong, okay? My way or the highway, okay? That's how rules and laws have been made for literally thousands of years. Rules were supposed to be made from the heart, to benefit people, to help people. It was supposed to come from the heart and be guided by the heart. What we have done as a world, especially a Western society, is we've flipped that upside down to where now we literally worship rules. We think it's all about rules. No, we've got it backwards. That's why, like, you keep making more laws and more rules. It's not making society better. It's actually making society worse, because you're doing it from the wrong way. So rules are always supposed to benefit us. For example, you go to a four-way intersection, you have 4 stop signs. Well, there's a rule to stop, and the person at the right is the person who gets to go first, or the person who gets there first. And so, well, what was the intention? To screw someone over, to get more money? No, the intention is so we don't kill each other, so we don't get in car accidents and hurt each other bad. So that's a really good intention. The challenge is most rules nowadays, they don't come from that place. Alright, perfect example. So rules are being used to limit us, and that's why we feel restricted and controlled, because people are using rules, creating rules to control us. For example, my buddy EJ in high school said, hey, you can't talk to all those different groups, you gotta pick one. That's a very reptilian way of thinking, okay? So it limits you, and that's exactly my point. Like, he was trying to limit me, like, you can't be friends. And he literally said, he goes, you can't, this is what he said, I remember. He goes, you can't be friends with everybody. And I said, why not? He goes, you've got to pick a group and stick to it. To which I metaphorically gave him the double flip bird. I didn't flip him the bird, but I forget what I said, but I was like, whatever, man, you're an idiot. I forget what I said, but I was like, yeah, I was going to fall for that. All right, so here's another good example. So before that, number one, it's not about left or right. So now we're moving to the right brain. No, we're opening up to the right brain. We're becoming more complete as a system, okay? And we're going to come from a place of rules should be made to support you, to benefit you, to give you an advantage. I don't mean an advantage over. See, that's left brain thinking. The minute you say advantage, oh, you mean over other people? Like, no, because now you're limiting them. That's not what I'm saying. The whole idea is things are supposed to support you and help your life and your creativity. So think of it like this. Think of it like a puzzle. The left brain separates the pieces and keeps them separate, okay? And what they do is they focus on one piece, just like EJ. Well, you got to pick a group and stick to it. You can't talk to all of them. So people that are right brain people, I probably should say left and right brain open. We look at the pieces of the puzzle, we look at it, we study it, and then we find another piece, we connect it, and then a third, then a fourth, then a fifth, and all of a sudden we start seeing the bigger picture. People that divide and separate things, they literally, neurologically, physically cannot see the bigger picture. So when you're talking about like communicating away, we connect A to B, so you speak 1, 2, or 3 paragraphs about one piece of the puzzle, and then you talk about the next piece of the puzzle, and then you connect them, and then the third. Their brain can't function that way, so they literally can't understand you. Okay, so here's another function of this. So when you open up to more and more, the bigger picture. So, okay, first of all, if you open up from your left brain to your right brain, so for people that have locked down, like narcissists, opening up to the right brain freaks them out. It's like you're going into this vast, like the song, this vast void, like you get lost in the void. It's new, it's different. Not only that, but there's no signpost, there's no rules. It's just like, well, float around, go where you want. And that's a really weird concept to people who always had structure, always had organization, and always had rules on how to go through that structure. So now you're saying, hey, here's an ocean, right? What? What are the rules? No rules. Go just go wherever you want and explore and create and design and develop. To people like that, if they freak out. Now here's another thing that people like that they just can't understand the concept. Well, what's going to keep them from hurting people and taking advantage of people and stealing and blah blah blah? Yeah, it's called this thing called love. See, that's why Jesus says love is the fulfillment of all the commandments, because you won't steal from your neighbor if you're coming from a place of love. You won't covet his wife. You won't want to hurt him. You won't want to do these bad. It's like automatically, well, I'm just here to be loving and kind and supportive and just be good because I'm coming from my heart. And this is why all rules should be based upon the heart, not the other way around. So a really good way of explaining this was, so I love I love going like to the Grand Canyon or climbing up mountains or tall peaks and just seeing the vastness of the world and the vastness of the ocean, and I just love it. There was one time where I didn't. I was in Hawaii, and I met a girl there, and then she took me off to this like neighborhood, like way away from Waikiki, and we went to like deep to this neighborhood in this area, and then we went to this beach, and nobody happened to be there that day, and it was kind of like a little cove, and it was a really cute little cove, right? And I went out in the water, and as normal, the water's warm in Hawaii. It's clean, it's crystal clear. You can see all the way through down to the bottom. And so I started swimming out about 50 yards, so not too far out, about 50 yards, right? And there was I was underwater, and I saw underneath it. So at this point, it started to go down. They had these two massive big coral reef, like a big like mountain or hill on the left side and on the right side. And the cool thing, it forced the water to go in between. So if you got kind of close to it, it would push you back, and then it would pull you back out, and it push you back, and you would just like ride on this. You would just sit there. You didn't do anything. It would push and pull you, and it was really cool. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go out there closer and get in between those two things. And I went out further and further and further, and it was like you're just laying down like a lullaby, or like your mom's like rocking you back and forth. And man, it felt really, really cool. So then I allowed myself to go right in the middle, and then it was pulling me. Now, as it pulled you out, just on the other side of those big coral hill things, mountain things on the left and right, the ocean dropped. Now you could see down, and it did get darker as you went down, and I allowed it to pull me over this thing where it was really deep, and I was going in, and I suddenly had this feeling of like, wait, what's out there? You know, like I didn't know if there was a shark or. And I was like, holy shit, like what am I thinking? And so I swam back in, and I'm swimming as fast as I can, and then I get up and I'm running, and the girl goes, what's wrong? I was like, that scared the shit out of me. So here's the challenge. When you let go of the way you used to be, you kind of go through this stage. They call it the dark night of the soul. I always forget this one, you know, like the towers, like the collapsing of the towers. Well, what is that? It's when all of a sudden you come to a point in life where you realize, wait a minute, this isn't real, or this isn't benefiting me, and you start to see things from a radically different perspective, and there comes to a point where everything collapses. All your rules, all your beliefs around, you know, maybe life in general or a specific subject, completely, you're like, wait, this doesn't make any sense at all, and you have this collapse. And then what happens is you're left with, well, where do I go now? And so you're gonna go, and this is what happened to a lot of you after that last narcissist abuse. One of the realizations you finally had was, oh, not everyone thinks the way I think. Not everyone's good like I am. Not everyone's good at the core of who they are. And see, that's what you did your whole life. You projected your loving kindness, your goodness onto other people. And no matter how much they hurt you, you just couldn't believe or even understand or even fathom the thought that they're not good on a core level. When you finally had the realization of, wait a minute, these are not good people. This is not a good person. This person doesn't care. This person, and like you start to go, wait a minute, this is just a person that's mean on a core level. When you finally realized that and had that realization, your whole belief system about humans, about other people, that, well, if you're just, and here's another one, well, as long as I'm nice to them, they'll eventually get that I'm on their side, you know. And you did this your whole life, and yet people kept stabbing you in the back, screwing you over, being mean to you, hurting you, maybe even physically, but you kept believing, well, if I'm nice enough, eventually they're going to be nice back. But then you had that core belief completely collapse and crushed, and you're like, no matter what I do, these people, and you start to look back on your entire life, all the way back to childhood, going, wait a minute, there are people out there that no matter how nice you are to them, they're never going to be nice to you in a million years. And that was one of those core beliefs that completely crashed. So forgive me if I'm not saying this right, but that's when you had that tower, that tower moment, when it completely collapsed. Because all of a sudden, when a couple core beliefs collapse, everything starts to go, wait a minute, it's nothing, none of this is true, and these beliefs and rules are not supported by anything, and it's literally like the structure of a tower or a building, and the core, like the base of it, the foundation, the very foundation and key structure pieces of the framework completely broke apart and collapsed, because you realize, like, wait, this isn't true at all. And all of a sudden, everything, it's like a deck of cards, boom, everything just collapsed. And that's what they call, you know, the dark night of the soul, or the collapsing of the tower. So what happens is all of your beliefs are lost. They're gone. You're like, well, this isn't true. And so you get stuck for a moment of, Where do I go with this? What do I do? What do I believe? What do I think? What are my rules? And this is when you go into that phase of you isolate yourself, and I call it, the Great Wall of China. So you build this Great Wall up because you just don't know how to deal with people. You don't understand people like you used to. In fact, you think you don't understand people at all, but it's there. So the tower moment is when you have a really key belief just completely collapse, and then it starts to reveal other beliefs like, wait a minute, that means that's not true either. And so that's the tower moment, is when your structure of beliefs, rules, etc. just fall apart. This is actually a good thing. It's painful, it's uncomfortable, it can be very dark, and then it leads you to dark night of the soul, which is what I call the Great Wall of China moment, where you just isolate and you put the wall up. The reason why you're putting the walls up is because you don't, number one, you don't understand how to relate to people anymore, because you've always related people that other way, but you're realizing, like, whoa, that's really dangerous. So dark night of the soul, again, is when you're alone for 2, 3, 4 years, and you're just trying to, you don't realize it, but it's a very unconscious level of processing, okay? And you're just lost. And so here's the best thing to do. Just go with it. You're sad, okay. That's actually okay. You feel lonely, you feel lost. Don't fight it. Just go with it. It will get better. I promise you. If you've noticed my voice over the last 2-3 months, especially recently, I had a shift about 2 weeks ago. Or no, actually, I think it was in January. Now I think about it. It started then. It was uncomfortable. I went silent on here again for about a month almost, and then I started coming back, still kind of lost, and then boom, something clicked in about 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. So the reason why this is such a good thing is you are letting go of these limiting beliefs. Now here's another thing, is there was conflict. Your heart was saying A, or Jesus was saying love, yet another party was like, hey, I got to stand up for myself. So you had this parts conflict, massive belief conflicts, and they collided together and they crashed into each other. And instead of trying to keep them separate, which you've done your whole life, and instead of trying to explain or justify, you just let them crash full force, battle mode, war mode, and they smashed into each other, and that caused the tower moment, which allows you to reevaluate your entire belief system, your rule system, your strategies, your entire life on how you've looked and perceived things. And this is taking you to a much broader, grander, it's like that ocean, just a huge, vast void of space. And now what you're doing is you are expanding. In energy healing or NLP or hypnosis, what's happening is you're causing a healing moment to happen, and these two different conflicts, these two different parts or beliefs are now beginning to heal and thus integrate and become one. And that's a really, really good thing. It causes you to expand your beliefs, and not only your beliefs, but your energy expands, okay? So instead of being in this little tiny space, your energy is expanding and you are becoming more of who you truly are versus the limited version of you. You're becoming more powerful. And you're stepping into your own space, and you're becoming you are beginning to express yourself more, whether it's in art, your voice, singing, moving, even your walk will become different. You'll just walk different. It'll be more comfortable, your movement will be more open, etc. Like everything starts to open up. Now, what we are going through as a world, we are going through this conflict. Have you ever heard the phrase, in fact, I know I've said it at least twice on my channel, it's something like when the light begins to shine, that's when it seems like it's the darkest. Now here's why. Because the darkness, in other words, the powers that be, the structure that we're living under, the rules, etc., that have been limiting mankind for a long time now. See, it did support us to get to a certain level, but we've been at this level for hundreds of years, if not longer than that. It's time to move on to the next level. But the people that are in power are trying to hold on to their power because their power is through this structure, and they can't let go of the structure. Otherwise, they're going to lose their power. So now they are fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their wealth. They're fighting for their power, their control of you and of us, of the majority of people, and they don't want to let it go. So when they start realizing that the light's beginning to shine, in other words, people are starting to catch on to what's going on, and it's more and more. So now they are going into a frenzy. It's like they're running around trying to turn off all the lights, and that's what they've been doing to us. That's why a lot of us on this channel and other channels, we've dealt with narcissists. Well, narcissists are light turner offers. I don't know how to say that better, but narcissists are the masters of turning people's lights off. In fact, that's what they're designed to do. That's what they do. They go around and so what they look for is they look for people who have a bright light. Like, shit, we got to get that person's light out, because otherwise, the minute they walk in the room, and here's what you do. When you have a bright light, you walk in, literally physically, into a room, a restaurant, a bar, whatever, a family home. You turn on the light, and other people, for that moment, their lights get turned on too, and they start to see things for the way they are. Like, whoa, what is this, man? And that's what they fear, because if people start seeing the light, they start seeing reality for the way it is, and they can see it consciously, then that light won't go off. In other words, they will never forget that. So if they see it enough times, they're like, yep, I see it. This is real. Can't change my mind anymore. I'm not falling asleep anymore. Okay? So that's why you become a threat to this structure, this system that we're in. Okay? The people, the powers that be, they don't want you to wake other people up. Okay, so that's why you went through a lot of this battle. But the thing about it is, you're still here, which means you're stronger than you were a year ago, 2 years, 3, 4 years ago. And you're still waking people up, even if you don't think you are. You just go to the grocery store. You mind your own business. You don't even make eye contact. You don't say nothing even to the cashier. They say $12.99. That's all you do. That's it. You nod your head and you move on. Just by being in your light lights up the world. It lights other people up. It's like you walk into a room, you flip the light switch on, and now people can see. So when the light begins to shine, that's when it seems like it's the darkest, because the dark side starts to fight their ass off, and it does seem like things are getting ugly. They are, but there's nothing they can do about it. It's too late. This movement has gone too far, and it's not going to stop. It's just catching more and more momentum. Without realizing it, even when you're at your worst, lowest moment, going through the dark night of the soul, you're isolating with the Great Wall of China up, you are actually doing God's work without even realizing you're doing it. Just by going to the grocery store, even if you're looking down, you don't make eye, it doesn't matter. Your light is still brighter than all of their light. In fact, your light is actually shining brighter, and that's why you can see your own darkness. Alright guys, so I'm going to wrap this up with a final piece in the next video. If you like this video and you enjoyed it, click subscribe, click the like button, and go ahead and make a comment if you want, okay? And for those of you who can and want to, go ahead and make a donation. There is a PayPal link right there in the description box below the video. That's it. I will see you guys in the next video. God bless you.